Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm going to be doing a full face of Black-owned makeup brands. I'm so excited to be doing this video, and I've actually been seeing quite a few of these lately, which I think is such an amazing thing. I really think that Black-owned makeup brands don't get the recognition that they deserve, and I don't know why that is because a lot of these brands are so inclusive. They really do think about including every skin tone because that really is important when it comes to makeup. Even though we don't need makeup, I feel like it can be very therapeutic for a lot of us. If you're a brand that comes out with complexion products and you don't think about including everyone, I think it's time to change that. And I am really happy that a lot of brands are starting to do that, but honestly, I think they can do better. And I know there have been changes within the past few years, especially I think when Fenty released their foundation. That really did change things for the makeup industry in general. I feel like a lot of brands were pressured to start coming out with better shade ranges, so I really gotta give props to brands like Fenty Beauty for doing that. So this for me is a way to do just something small for the Black Lives Matter movement. And I know it's not a lot, but I want to do what I can, start a conversation. And if you guys want to leave any brand suggestions in the comments down below, please let me know. I guess one thing about Fenty Beauty is that it's kind of like a co-ownership. I think it's owned by not just Rihanna, but I think Kendo as well. So in my opinion, that is still a Black-owned makeup brand. I don't know how you might feel about that, but I did decide to include Fenty Beauty in here, as well as Pat McGrath, which is also a bigger brand. But I do have some Beauty Bakerie, which I have never tried before. And I also have the Uoma Beauty foundation, which I have used once, and I have some thoughts on this. And then besides that, I have products that I've actually been using for a while now. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. Since I don't have an actual eyeshadow primer, I'm gonna take my Pat McGrath Perfection Concealer in the shade LM8, and I've actually really been enjoying this as an eyeshadow primer. It is very full coverage, so I really only need like that much. That might even be too much. And then I'm just blending it out with this Morphe E.L.F brush. So I'm going to be using my two favorite Juvia's Place eyeshadow palettes, at least from the ones that I've tried so far. First, I have the Saharan palette, which is this one right here. I really like this one. And I also have the Masquerade Mini. In this one, you pretty much get half colorful eyeshadows, and then the rest are neutral and warm shades. So for today's look, I'm going to be sticking to more of the neutral and warm shades from the palettes. Since I did pick up this lipstick from the Lip Bar, it's a really pretty deep red shade. So I want to match my eyeshadow to my lipstick. So it's going to be kind of like a fall inspired makeup look, even though summer is just about to begin, but I'm always ready for fall, let's be honest. So I'm going to start by taking the shade Katsina from the Saharan palette. I'm going to take that on my NYX fluffy blending brush, and I'm going to apply that into my crease. I really like the matte formula from Juvia's Place eyeshadow palettes. They're just really pigmented, but they blend out super easily. So next I'm taking the shade Zulu from the Masquerade Mini, and I'm just using the same brush, but I'm going to focus this more on the outer corner this time. Next, I'm taking the shade Senegal from the Saharan palette. And just to be a little more precise, I'm going to take this on the Morphe JH41 brush. I'm going to add a little bit with my finger. And then dipping back into the Masquerade Mini palette, I'm going to take this shade right here. I think this is called Ada or Ada. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. And I'm going to take that on my Sigma E25 brush. I'm just focusing this mainly on the outer corners of the lids. And just to deepen up the outer corners a little bit more, I'm going to take the shade Fulani from the Masquerade mini palette. So just keeping it right on the outer corners. And I'm going to tap a little bit more of the lid shade that I used. And I'm just going to lightly tap a little bit more. Since I did do a lot of blending, I feel like I lost some of that shade. For foundation, I have the Uoma Beauty Say What foundation, and I picked mine up in the shade Honey Honey T1W. This foundation does have, I believe, over 40 shades. I'm not exactly sure how many categories they have, but they did divide it up into, I think, fair, olive, neutral, and then maybe tan and deep. So they do have a really amazing shade range. Okay, I almost completely forgot that I picked these up. These are the Beauty Bakerie blending eggs. So you get 6 blending sponges in here. I really love Beauty Bakerie's whole aesthetic. It's just such a cute like baking theme. I love that they're in this little egg container. Yeah, just a very cute product in general, but I'm gonna go wet one of these sponges. I don't know why I almost forgot, but I'm gonna go ahead and do that and I will be right back. Okay, so here is the sponge wet and then here is the dry one. So I'm just dipping directly into the foundation with the sponge. So like I said, I did try this foundation once and I really loved the finish of this. It is very skin-like. I love how lightweight it is. I don't feel it on my skin at all, which I really appreciate, but it just looks so freaking good. Yeah, it doesn't stick to any of my dry patches, which is usually around my nose and sometimes on my jawline. So I don't know if you can tell, but when I first apply it, it looks too dark on me. But once I start blending it out and it sits for a little bit, it doesn't look as dark. For concealer, I'm taking the McGrath Lab Skin Fetish Concealer in the shade LM8. This concealer is so full coverage. It might be the most full coverage concealer that I have in my collection right now, and it does blend out really easily. So I'm gonna try to not apply that much because I have been applying, I think, too much lately. I am so excited to try this setting powder. This is the Beauty Bakerie Flower Setting Powder, and look at the packaging of this. Again, Beauty Bakerie's whole aesthetic is just so cute. So here is the actual packaging of the setting powder, and it does have that sifter that you can close back up, which I always really appreciate. So I'm gonna take my E.L.F. small tapered brush, and I'm gonna take some of the powder and set underneath my eyes. And I'm going to take that along the sides of my nose as well and on my chin. It's just where I tend to get the oiliest throughout the day. Okay, that looks really nice and smooth. I don't feel like it dried out my skin or anything. And I was going to go ahead and set my entire face, but I do want to use the Fenty cream bronzer. So I have mine in the shade Macchiato, and this shade works perfectly for my skin. So I'm just gonna blend that onto my skin. And you know what? I'm gonna try applying the other side with a sponge. So I'm gonna take the Beauty Bakerie sponge. Since this sponge is a little more dense than my other sponges, I wanna see how this applies it. Oh, actually looks really nice. So I'm just gonna go ahead and set my entire face, and I'm taking that powder on the Sigma Large Powder F30 brush. This powder is really nice and smoothing on my skin. It's very lightweight. So for the lower lash line, I'm gonna take the shade Zulu from the Masquerade mini palette, and I'm taking that on the E.L.F. and J. Kissa J4 brush. And then I'm going to take Katsina from the Saharan palette, and I'm just going to use that to blend out the Zulu shade. And then on my Sigma E30 pencil brush, I'm taking the shade Ada or Ada from the Masquerade mini palette. I'm going to focus that mainly on the outer portion of the lower lash line. And I always connect it up onto the outer corner of the lid. And then I'm taking Fulani on that same pencil brush, and I'm doing the same thing. And then I'm taking that J Kissa brush one more time and just using that to blend. And I'm actually going to take the black shade from the Saharan palette. This is the shade Chad. And I'm going to use that to line my upper lash line. I'm using the Delium Tools 714 brush. So I'm just pressing that in. I'm not creating a wing or anything. This is such a good black eyeshadow. It's really pigmented. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my brows now, and the only brow product from a black-owned makeup brand that I have is the Fenty Beauty Brow MVP. This is in the shade Soft Black. So this one has a really interesting brush. It's not a typical spoolie like most brow pencils have. It has a really tiny artiste style brush. I don't love this kind of brush for my brows. I always feel the need to like go in with an actual spoolie, but the brow pencil itself does have a really nice formula. It's really pigmented, so I do have to use a light hand when it comes to this. So again, the brush is not ideal for me, but I don't hate it either. I can make it work. So I like underlining my brow first. Yeah, that's just like the perfect shade for me right now. Especially when I don't dye my hair, this is pretty much the perfect shade. And then I'm just gonna brush through my brow. This brow always gives me trouble. I just don't like it as much as my right brow. Unfortunately, I don't have a brow gel from a black-owned makeup brand, so I'm just gonna use my E.L.F. Wow Brow Gel. This is in the shade Deep Brown. For mascara, I'm taking my McGrath Labs FetishEyes mascara, and I actually picked this up about a week ago, and so far I really like it. I have used it, I think, twice, but it is a pricey mascara. I'm pretty sure this is at least $30. So for that reason, I am going to keep testing it out before giving you my final thoughts. So this does a really nice job at separating my lashes, and it does give a nice amount of volume as well. I just don't know if it's worth $30, since you can get some really good mascaras for like $5. So I'm gonna dip into the Saharan Blush Volume 2 palette. I love how you get some warm and cooler shades. It's just like a really nice mix. So I'm gonna take the shade Yara, which is the bronzy shade, and I'm gonna go ahead and bronze up the face even more. And I'm using my E.L.F. stipple brush. And then for blush, I'm taking the shade Tau. And this one to me looked pretty intimidating the first time that I tried it. But since it isn't super pigmented, I am able to apply just a little bit and it doesn't look too intense. So I'm taking that on my Sigma F40 brush. And then I'm gonna take the highlighter shade. This is the shade Zoba. And I'm applying that with the Morphe E81 brush. I think the number rubbed off. This shade kind of reminds me of a highlighter that I have from Becca. I don't know if they still have it. It might have been limited edition, but I think it's called Lilac Geode or something. Yeah, it reminds me of that one, but not as duochrome-y, if that makes sense. I don't know what I'm saying. And for the inner corners, I'm going to dip into the shade Daya from the Masquerade Mini Palette. I'm going to use that as an inner corner highlight. I'm also going to take a tiny bit of the shade Giza, and I'm going to apply that right over top. So I purchased this Lip Bar liquid lipstick in the shade Brickhouse. This, you guys, I don't hear anyone talking about these. Yeah, I don't think anyone that I watch has talked about these liquid lipsticks, but this shade is so rich and pigmented. The only thing is that it can be a little bit drying, so I did make sure to prep my lips. I did exfoliate my lips before sitting down to film this video, and I also applied a lip balm, but I just love this shade. It's like the perfect deep rusty red. So with this formula, I have found that one layer is best. When I applied more than one layer, it did start to feel kind of heavy on my lips, and I personally don't like that feeling, but it's almost transfer proof. I don't know how it lasts with eating and drinking. All right, so I went ahead and finished applying my lipstick off camera. I can't wait to try some of their other shades. I think they have a couple of nude shades, but I did see more bold lip colors, which I personally do really like, especially in the fall and winter. I don't know what it is about a bold lipstick in the fall and winter that I just love it so much. And that completes this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this full face of Black-owned makeup brands. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you'd like to see more of my videos, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!